Jim's Hot Rods and Beyond here, talking about a custom-made steering column. Okay, I'm using the Ford Thunderbird 67 to 68 original column. Whatever, paid $35 for it. Okay, clean the whole shaft up, scratch the surface, put some nice quality primer on there, cleaned all the bearing surface on the bottom of the thrust bearing. Shaft is still too long, got to cut that eventually. And before we do that, we have to make the tube and the internals for where it sits. Okay, so I'm going to go on turning this thing around. Here we go. Alright, there's my stainless steel tube. 2 1/4 inch 409 stainless steel exhaust tubing. And it's not going to take very much to polish this up. And yeah, that's exactly what it's going to look like. This will be mirror finish when I'm done. Here's the housing cover where all of the electronics go into. This locks down, which is the locking ring. Okay, right there you can see the 3 spots. I highly recommend doing this to anybody that wants to. I mean, you can get these columns and fuck, every goddamn car has got one. Tons of them out there, and they're cheap. So this lock ring goes over the top of the original column, and you can see this is a short piece of the original column. The flat thrust washer has to be welded in. So you weld that in where the 2 tabs are. And what that does is it centers everything up so it's nice and smooth. In order to do that, you have to put the plastic thrust washer and get everything square. Now, this opening, I could make that on this, but why bother? This is easier. Takes like 5-10 minutes. So basically, this goes over that, and you just rotate that, and it locks it into the column. See, now you're left with a little tiny end, okay? A little tiny end. But you can see all that clearance in there. Now, this right here, this fits right over that, okay? Now, you can see if you step back, wow, that's going to be sharp looking. Polished stainless steel, you're going to paint the cone, the lock ring, the same color as the vehicle, and you have a custom-made column that probably cost you under, I don't know, $200 under that, and it's custom made and you did it yourself. Everything works, unless you need the cost goes up if you have to repair the internals, which is the directional hazard mechanism. Everything was pretty good. So we have to locate the bottom of this shaft to the center of this tube. Now you can try to get a bearing to fit that, and there's not too many on the market. So this is what I use. I use a Ariens snowblower auger bearing. They were $13 from a bearing supply house. Okay, and this has really nice features. Not only it's sealed to the elements, okay, and what I do is I always go over here and I just paint this. I paint right here. I tape it off tight, and I paint just on the edge the same color as the vehicle, and the rest of it's polished stainless steel. So it comes with a flange. It's a 2-bolt flange. You want to grind this a little bit out because it was real tight. Press that baby in, and then go back and cut your wings off and kind of I chamfered it like this, so you can just, I don't know if that's going to show up, but anyways, there it is. You just chamfer it down, and you want to just weld this just a little at a time all the way around. Okay, just weld that, and I just do a couple spot welds all the way around. Okay, now here's the tricky part. You see a big hole in the tube. Okay, inside that bearing there's 2 set screw, or we call them worm screws. Okay, that's how you access. So you got to drill a hole, a 3/8 hole. Now I'm going to turn this around, and you're going to say to yourself, oh, that's fucking stupid. Now you're going to get water and gunk in there. Ah, that's where you're wrong. Go to your local hardware store and pick up one of these little babies. This is a 3/8 plastic snap plug. Okay? They come in white or black. I prefer the white one because I don't even have to primer that. All I have to do is scuff that, paint it silver, and basically that snaps in the hole and seals it out to the elements. You want to get into that, you just take a little screwdriver, go in there, pop it out. And it's as simple as that, and that's what we do. The reason why that's like that is because that's how you take this column out of the vehicle. You go in there, you turn your steering wheel until you look inside that hole and see the little worm screw. Take a little Allen wrench, loosen up, turn it 90 degrees, loosen the second one up, and slide your steering wheel out after you loosen up the steering column from, well, basically the steering box. And what we use for that is, some people use a a flex connector. I actually made this. This is pretty cool. It's just a piece of moly tube with some holes drilled straight through, and what that does is that's an easy access. There's no crimple point on this thing, so hey, we don't live dangerous for nothing, right? So basically, you take this, put this onto the box, drill a couple holes through it, put some bolts. That stays stationary, so when you release this and take it out of the cab, you just take the 2 bolts that you drilled through the bottom of this column. This column is so trick now that you're going to be like, oh, and it's smooth as butter. My other one for my pink car, they're just immaculate. They're so smooth. The micro bearings for these things, you can see how smooth that rolls now. They weren't like that from the factory. They used to be grindy, sloppy, and then they would wear out after like 80,000 miles. This is guaranteed. Well, the bearing guy told me if you don't run this thing at 6,000 RPMs, this thing's going to guaranteed for God knows how long. Life, probably. It'll never wear out. Because you're only going to go back and forth and you turn circles or whatever. So it's low RPM and there's no stress on it. So, there you go. You press this baby in there from an Ariens snowblower, which is standard 2¼ inch exhaust tube. The outside, I don't have the case because the case that the bearing presses into is now inside that tube. Now you're asking yourself, okay, let's say if the bearing does fail. Great. Loosen up your little hardware in there with that little hole. Pull the column out. Actually, you can take another this case a 5/8 piece of steel, you slide it down the center, and you just rest it on the inside of the bearing, and you just give it a couple taps, and that bearing pops right out, and you put a standard 2-inch by 5/8 micro bearing in, and they're only $8. So it's a standard. You can get that bearing pretty much anywhere that sells snowblower parts and stuff like that. So this is a very ingenious way, and let me tell you, it's proven. It's a proven method. And then in the end, you have a custom-made stainless steel tube, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in the truck. So basically, that's going to go down in there, okay? And once I get this, I got to get this length. This is probably a little bit too long still, I'm not sure. I cut it at 28 for right now. It doesn't matter where this thing doesn't have to be straight at all because you're going to weld that onto the original tube. So once I get this small hole down here where the center of my box is opened up, so this slides in there. This pipe is going to be welded into the firewall. You never have to remove that. The steering column pops out, which is the shaft and all the internals. You just loosen that up and it slides right out. And if you look, there's so much room in here that this will never have to come out of there. Once that's in there and polished, it depends. I might not weld it in. I'm not really sure if I want to, but most likely I will weld it in. And that's what I usually do. So don't mind me, I have heartburn. So there you go. And I'll show you a couple pictures of when it's done. So you take this piece, which is the top of the original steering column, scuff it up, and you put it into this sucker. Okay? You put this into this, just like this, and you weld that bitch right up just before the thrust washer, like so, right there. You weld this sucker right on there. You're in money. You put your cone, you put your internals. After you finish polishing this here tube, and that's it. Custom made shaft to go down the road to get your fucking groceries. Okay? Get it done, doing it right. There you go. Gem's Hot Rods Beyond. That's what I do.